Hello, welcome to Mrs. Bailey's art lesson. Today we are going to be doing Zentangles. You are going to need a paintbrush, a black marker pen and a little bit of paint. Now, traditionally Zentangles are black and white. This is one I did ages ago in my sketchbook. But we are going to be using a little bit of colour. Now, I have been in a green mood, inspired by all the rain and all the plants growing, so mine are green, but you can use any colour you want. It depends on what's available, so whether you're in school or you're doing this at home, you can use any colour you want to. So your leaf shapes, it's up to you. Okay, so we're going to start off with some painted leaf shapes and then we're going to Zentangle over them. So get your sketchbooks or your paper ready and off we go. Right, before we start, if you're using your art sketchbook, please make sure that you've turned to a double page. And if you're working with paper, you're going to need two pieces. Now the reason for that is we're going to be painting on one side of the page our leaf shapes, and while that's drying you're going to turn your sketchbook around and just work on your Zentangles. So we're going to experiment and play around with Zentangles that we could then transform onto our painted leaf shapes. Obviously you can't use marker pen on wet paint, so you're going to need something to do while you're waiting for your paint to dry. And make sure you have your apron on so that you are protecting your clothes just in case. We shouldn't really be making a mess with this because you're only going to be using a little bit of paint. So you won't need your black marker pen, so you can just push your marker pen out of the way. And then what you will need to do is, first of all, make sure you wet your paintbrush. Now, the nice thing with this is we're going to use this time a bit more water on our paintbrush, and this is where we get to play, which is really lovely. It's quite mindful actually. So I've got different shades of green, but of course you might have different colours depending on what's available, and just choose a colour to start with. So you've got quite a wet paintbrush. You're going to just dip it in the paint and then a bit more water on your paintbrush, and you're just going to go for a leaf shape. Now this does not have to be perfect, so a nice leaf shape. They're nice, they're, you know, if they're looking watery, that's fine. And you can see that we're not being careful about this at all. There's nothing is precise with this piece of work. We just choose some nice colours. You might want to make them more watery, so they don't have to be thick for this. As last time's lesson, the last lesson we had, we used quite a lot of thick paint. And just really nice, careful leaf shapes. We're not looking for perfection. And I've got white on with my paint, so I can make some lighter colours. I'm going to add a bit of water to that to make it nice and light. Different size leaves will be nice. If I want to, could add a little bit of colour in there just to make it interesting. It's up to you. Experiment. It's quite nice in a nice calm classroom to just experiment. Lovely feeling that paint on the paintbrush, being quite mindful about what you're doing. So that's quite a thick, that's what happens when you don't put it back into the water. It's up to you. You can have some thick ones, some thin ones. You can make it thinner if you want to. You could go over it with a streak of white. Just play around with this until you get the effects that you like. So for instance, if you start to paint a shape and you think don't really like it, just go over it again. It's absolutely fine. So we're not making a mess. We're not getting this all over our hands, all over the desk. It's very, very sort of calm, peaceful and lovely. I like that colour, but I haven't used that one yet, so I'm just going to go with that one. So again, just going to make it a bit more watery. I'm going to go there. So nice and watery, it's like that. And it's nice to see those brush marks as well. So to me, that's a bit boring. I'm just going to put a bit of dark in there. Let's do that. Oh, yeah. So again, they're not perfect. Don't have to be. Wet my paintbrush again. And if you give it a tap, did you see what I did there? I just tapped it. If I just pulling it straight out of the water, I'm going to get splash marks all over my work. So just a gentle tap. And then it should stop the water from dripping everywhere. I quite like the two-tone ones. I know we're going to Zentangle over it, but it's given me quite interesting sort of colours. So I might try that again actually, because I like it. So again, the white, mix that. Oh, I might go for something a lot lighter. Let's do, I'm going to have a really pale one, and then I might put some dark green over it. So let's do something in here. That's quite nice. Make it a bit bigger. And then, ooh, what shall I put over it? Quite like that colour. So I could leave it just like that. It's up to you. To just blend it in a bit, just on one side. Oh, I like that dark bit down the middle. That's quite exciting. Right, let's go for some shapes, filling in all my areas. Just do one there. It's always hard to decide what to do because I love all these colours. Great. Right, let's put a bit of water on there. It's quite nice. That colour's quite nice. I'm going to water it down though. Have that one a bit more watery. Ooh, it's a bit dark. Put a bit more water on it. Make it bigger. Still a bit dark. I might add some white in that one. Oh, it's kind of highlighted it. It's lovely. Right, going to leave that one. Put two there. I could even turn my book around, couldn't I, really? Anything with turning your book around is like not leaning back onto the paint, so let's just get water. Let's do one of these lovely, it's like an apple green, it's quite lovely, succulent colour, beautiful, reminds me of the summer. Right, that's really nice, I like that one. Perhaps a pale one, so again, a bit of water. Ooh, quite like the effect of that, that's quite nice. Right, so you can see I haven't taken any care over fussing about the shape. I've just gone with it. So now what you're going to need to do now is that's got to dry. So if you're working in your sketchbook, turn the wet page away from you so that you've got your other page in front of you. That way you're not leaning over wet paint, it's away from you and you can let it dry. Might need about 20 minutes to half an hour, which is really good because it's going to give you time to then practice, or as I like to think, investigate Zentangle effects. Really, this is completely up to you how you do this. So I'm just going to draw a basic leaf shape just to have a go. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect. and I'm just going to think about what sort of patterns I could put on my leaves. Now, the way I've painted my leaves, I tend to kind of have a curved theme. So I could then do something quite sort of jagged against the curve of the leaf, and then could colour sections in. This is quite lovely because nothing is planned. You're just experimenting with shape, and the ideas will just come to you after a while. So if you start and you think, oh, I've got no idea what to do, don't worry, just keep practicing, because suddenly ideas will just pop up and you'll think, oh yeah, actually I like that. So don't worry, just start to have a go and see what you come up with. Ideas of Zentangling over your leaves, because we'll all have different ideas. And you'll do some things and you'll think, I don't like that now, but the good thing with Zentangles is you can easily cover up mistakes. Nobody knows what you had planned. So it's quite nice to do artwork where you can cover things up really quickly that you don't like. So I've started with that and I've got no idea what I'm going to do on the other part of the leaf yet. So you could do something like a swirl. So you could start off in the middle, keep going around a bit like a snail, keep it going. Zentangles are all done really carefully and without rushing. The idea is that they're done and you're feeling nice and calm. So I've got a bit of a swirl in the middle there. Now I'm beginning to think, right, what am I going to do now? I'm a bit undecided, so I'm going to leave that one and I'm going to do another leaf shape somewhere else and try something new. So I might have another curve going all the way through, and then I'm going to have a little bit of a border on this one, and I'd like to do, I don't know, like a curved line on that one, something a bit different. And then that side I'm going to do stripes. So again, you don't have to fill them all in yet. You might go back with different ideas for your Zentangle. So that one's going to be like that, and I'm going to add all the detail in a minute. I'm going to do one here. Let's practice something different. Oh, I quite like the swirly idea. So I'm going to start off with a big swirl, a bit wobbly, doesn't matter. And I'm going to end it there. And then I'm going to do great big sharp, they look like teeth marks. And then this one, quite like those jagged edges. So this hasn't got to be perfect, don't forget. I'm going to just do nice jagged edges on that one. Right, so now I'm going to go back to this one. I quite like the stripes, so I'm going to fill it in. So my stripes, oops, closer together. They don't have to be perfect, don't forget. Quite like that, that's nice. And I might go in and do, fill in every other one. So you're going to spend quite a lot of time doing these Zentangles, and this is only our practice session. So we're going to do it for real on our dried paint. So So it just gives you a bit more idea when you come to your actual proper piece of artwork. Yeah, I quite like that. That's quite nice. So that's given me about 4 ideas, but you might change your mind when you go back to it, your proper one. Right, well, with this one, I might, let's fill that area in, because it went a bit wobbly here. I might extend that thick line down a bit. And again, this is just my practice. I haven't got to be perfect. I can neaten up the edges later. And I'm just going to go make that wobbly line a bit thicker, like that. Now, I could do dots. Might be nice because I've not done any dots yet. A bit like that. You can have stripes going different ways. You can draw flowers in them. You can draw hearts in them. You can do bubbles. It's really up to you. And the more you do, the more of an idea you'll have for your main piece of artwork. So in here I could do stripes again. Quite a nice contrast. And you'll keep going back and thinking, oh, I'm going to add this now, I'm going to do this. So there we go, that's looking nice already, isn't it? Now, once you've had a bit of a practice, you can check your leaves, just gently touch them. Now, you've got to be careful with this because you don't want to, if they're too soggy, it's going to kind of ruin your pen. So we need to leave them so that they're dry enough to paint over. And I'm just going to finish this one and then I'm going to show you what to do on your painted leaf shapes. Because you don't want to watch me doing this all day, you'd rather get on with your own work. Okay, so that's one that's done. I mean, I could polka dot some of these stripes, but I'm not going to. So, turning my page round, I'm now going to work on my leaf, and I'm going to choose one that I think is nice and dry. See, that one's a bit wet still, so I'm just wetting my finger on a paper towel. Might be handy to have a paper towel, just in case. Right, now when deciding what to Zentangle, I kind of look at what I've painted and then go with the flow. So in here there's this nice mark there, and then I'm going to go with that line there, and I'm going to do a zigzag in the middle. So you might be inspired by the shape of the leaf or the marks that you've made on the leaf. So I'm going to colour in some of these triangles. But you don't have to work on just one leaf at a time. It depends. I've chosen this one because it's the one that seemed, out of all the leaves on my pad, that was the one that kind of seemed like it was the driest. So for now I'd start with that one. So I'm just doing one bit at the minute because I haven't got a clue what I'm going to do for the rest of it. The ideas will flow. It's very much about being mindful and being in the present moment and just coming and working with ideas that begin to flow as you work through these. So I'm not sure anybody would look at that and think, I know exactly what I'm going to do on every leaf. you're just working with what pings into your mind as you really look at what you've painted. So very, very mindful and being in the here and now, which is what mindfulness is about. So obviously the leaf shapes are fairly similar. There's a bit of wet paint just there, so I'm going to wipe my pen. And then I've got this dark edge just there, which is quite lovely. So I'm going to go off like that. And again, I've got a really lovely bit there as well. So I'm just going to pick up that bit there as well. And here, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that bit yet, but I might do some zigzags in this bit. So again, picking up my zigzaggy theme. I'm just going to colour this. Now, you don't need to rush anything. So enjoy. It's like doodling with a purpose, Zentangles. You know, normally when you're doodling, you're talking to someone or you might be on your phone, and it's kind of not mindful doodling. Doodling is just without thinking about it. But Zentangles have a purpose. It's when you're really in the moment and you're really, really thinking about what patterns you could put in, what you could do. Now, this bit, I don't like that bit. So I'm trying to think, what can I put in there to make it more interesting? So I might just go for bubbles. So just doing circles. Doesn't matter what size they are, whether they fit together. I'm just going to do bubbles. So relaxing. It's nice to have nice music on. Now I'm doing mine quite quickly just so that I speed this up a bit. But you're going to take your time. The noise of the pen on the paint underneath. Be really mindful, see if you can hear the tip of the pen against the paint. The colours and stripes in your work. All these things are very mindful. Being aware and of your thoughts while you're doing this, really focusing on pattern, shape and colour, creating texture with your patterns. You might be doing that. It reminds me of a lizard's eye. It's really weird. I'm going to continue with these bubbles. I quite like them. So again, there's no plan. You're just going with it, wherever your mood takes you. If you make a mistake, go over it with a different pattern. Right, there's a bit there that I don't like, but I'll do something over that in a minute. So that's that. Looks a bit reptile. I'm going to now try and trace the outline. Goes wobbly, it doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be perfect. And for this, I'm just going to do some stripes. Now I could colour them in and do them black and white, but I'm going to leave that one for now and come back to that in a minute. Now I've got this leaf here that's a bit bland, a bit boring, needs a bit of life added to it. So I'm just going to go around the edge, and it doesn't matter if it goes wobbly, it doesn't have to be perfect. Look, I missed some of it off, that doesn't matter at all. And I feel that this one needs a bit of oomph because it's a bit boring. So I'm going to go with that line there. And I might do a swirl in the middle. I quite like these swirls. I think they're quite nice. And I'm going to leave that one. I'll come back to that one in a minute because I'm not sure how I'm going to fill it in yet. This one's quite exciting. It's got some nice stripes on it. And I like this curve. It's sort of follow that with my pen. It's quite nice. And again, I'm going to follow that curve. It's got a quite interesting bit in the middle. And then there's another beautiful curve there. And another one going round. So by accident, we have got some lovely markings. None of it was intentional, but we can use those markings to do our Zentangle. So that's interesting. I'm going to leave that one as well for now, come back to it. Here I might try something a little bit different. So I'm going to an interesting middle, I think. And I might do my swirly line that I practiced. So it's going to be a little bit like that. I'm going to put a big polka dot in the middle. And then I'm going to do one there. One there. Then I'm going to come back to this one because I'm going to put some stripes in there. So suddenly you'll sort of leave some areas alone and then you'll come back to them and think, aha, I know what I'm going to do to that bit now. So just taking your time. So you kind of get the idea now. So the way your paint sits on each leaf will give you an idea of what you could do. And then that little practice that you had earlier, you'll already have some ideas that you could transfer to your leaves. And sometimes you might do this and might not like it, and then when you go back and you look at it and you think, oh, actually I do like that idea. Because you can absolutely do anything at all. So here, I'll go back to this one now, I've got another idea for it. I'm going to take up that line there. And I might do kind of some semicircles, I think, because I quite like that bit underneath. And then I'm going to go in those semicircles. And then I might go in them again. Ooh, quite like that. It's like rainbows. Quite nice. And I quite like to, in some areas where I've used like a curve pattern, I then like to kind of do the opposite thing and do lines going in an opposite direction. That looks good. And again, I can fill those in and do it sort of black and white. And then I'm going to do, ooh, it's gone a bit wobbly, doesn't matter. have some lines going the opposite way this time. If it's gone a bit wobbly, we can neaten it up, we can put something next to it, it's all fine. And then I'm going to do another little stripe there. And this time, do some stripes in the opposite way. And then follow that line round. And I might just really carefully follow that line. So as you can see, even though there's no plan, you start to get some really interesting patterns and ideas. And then if I go back to what I did before earlier, with this, you can do all sorts of things. So I've even added leaves in the middle, so you can, once you've filled in an area, you can then add a bit more interest by drawing in extra leaves. So you can do some black and white Zentangles just to fill it in, or you can link your leaves up, so you can do some nice sort of extra leaves, like a vine flowing through your work. So it could go all the way through like that. You could even write messages, couldn't you? It's really up to you. This is your artwork. It becomes what you want it to be. So, I mean, I'm rushing. Don't rush. Take your time. If you don't finish it today, you could always finish it another day when you need something to fill a bit of time in. So, and yours will be completely dry because I'm leaning on mine and I'm beginning to get sort of wet finger marks over mine. So have fun with this and see how you get on. It'd be nice to see some of your work. So I'm going to finish mine. I'm going to let you get on. So don't worry, the ideas start to come after a while. So you'll start off having no ideas, and then suddenly you'll think of loads and loads of different ideas that you can do to fill this in. And go with the basic shapes, look at the marks that you've already made. They might inspire you, or you'll start to develop different ideas as you go along. So it really changes. There's just no plan. It's really great. So enjoy this, have lots of fun with it, nice and steady, nice and calm, and just, you know, with all the mindful practices that we're doing in school at the minute, this is also a mindful practice. It is, you don't always have to have your eyes shut to do mindfulness. It's all about being in the here and now, being really present, and just exploring shape and colour.